What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Wednesday edition of the show where we have a lot of Tennessee football to talk about once again. On our last show, last week's Friday edition of the show, I told you guys that we were going to continue on with our position group spotlight series with the linebackers, so that is exactly what we are here to do today. Kind of talk about those guys, the quarterbacks of the defense, break down that position group, by player, get you guys up to speed with some returning names, but also some new names that you guys are going to see out on that defense this year, and also kind of highlight how well William Inge has recruited at this position the last 2 years. Obviously, we talked a little bit about how he's doing this year with this 2026 class. He's killing it, knocking it out of the park. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But before we get into any of that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, do with whatever you'd like with it, share it to whoever you'd like. I really appreciate all the love that this show has been getting lately. I'm going to continue to say that. It really does mean the world to me. How many people are getting to watch this show and all the things, all the positive comments that you guys are leaving, or, bad comments, whatever that is. You can comment bad stuff about me all the time. I can take it. I appreciate you guys for watching anyways. I think I had one about my hairline last week, which, it's fine. Whatever. But again, nonetheless, I appreciate all the love that we have been getting as of late. So like I said, we're going to talk a lot strictly about linebackers today. SEC Media Day started yesterday. It's going to continue on for the next 2 days. Our show Friday will be all about SEC Media Day. I'm heading out of town on Thursday, so that will be a pre-recorded episode. I mean, not much pre-recorded, but just a little bit pre-recorded, as I am headed to Alabama for a school kind of matter. So not that you guys need to know what it's for, but I'll be out of town, so it'll be a pre-recorded episode. But that's what Friday's looking like. But we're here to talk about linebackers today. So we're going to talk about these players one by one. I'll tell you what, man, I've been talking about how this linebacking group is going to be better, and I definitely think that it is. A year under everybody's belt is definitely going to help, but it's a little thin compared to what it was last year. So let's get right into it. To start with the leader of this defense, the guy who is representing the Vols at SEC Media Day right now, Arion Carter, will be a junior this year, had 68 total tackles last year, had an interception, a big-time interception against the Florida Gators and DJ Lagway last year. From Smyrna, Tennessee, however you say that, in-state guy, is, like I said, a true junior, and he's at Media Day, which kind of speaks volumes about a guy. We talked about it 2 episodes ago, like how important it is to send leaders and guys that are looked up to, in a sense, around the team, a guy that, at these SEC Media Days, he is the speaking point of the Tennessee defense right now. So he's got a lot of weight on him up there with, not weight, but it's a big role to have, if that makes sense. It's a big accomplishment to be picked to go with Josh Heupel. We were close on those. I was very surprised that Jermon McCoy did not end up going to Media Day. But it's Arion Carter, Bryson Easton, and Miles Kitselman, for those who don't know. I guessed the Miles Kitselman, I guessed the Arion Carter, but I was off on the Jermon McCoy. So bees it. But Arion Carter, in my opinion, is the best linebacker on this team, one of the best defenders on this Tennessee team in general. Thought that he'd play a lot his freshman year, 2 years ago. Played a little bit, not as much as they kind of thought. He came onto the scene, was a 4-star in a high school, and not even the highest-ranked linebacker that the Vols had that year, but kind of came out of nowhere. Like I said, an in-state guy. Really impressed his first spring on campus. They thought he'd play a little more as a freshman, didn't play a ton. Actually, Jeremiah Telander, who we're about to talk about, played a little more as a freshman. So that was kind of surprising there for some. Last year as a sophomore, played really good football, was a really key piece to that really, really good Tennessee defense last year, one of the best in the country, and he's going to continue to be a key piece this year. Like I said, the leader of that defense has a lot of range as a linebacker, a great athlete for, like I said, 6'1", 235, so a big guy, and he's a lot of range, got good speed at the linebacker position, a sure tackler, and his pick against Florida, I mean, you could see how much of an athlete he was, kind of got up to get that one, at least, got up for a linebacker. You don't really see linebackers getting up like that for picks these days, or at all. I don't know why I said these days, but at all. You don't just really see linebackers leaping all over the field, and that's what he did for that one against Florida. So a great athlete. Again, I'd say outside of Jermon McCoy and Joshua Josephs, he might be the best player on this year's defense. Obviously, Boo Carter is a killer. I mean, he is awesome. So either way, he's up there, one of the best defenders on this team, and it kind of goes hand in hand. Like I don't really see him without Jeremiah Telander, who we're going to talk about right now. Arion Carter and Jeremiah Telander, like I almost see him as one, if that makes sense. Just guys that came in the same year, guys that were the best at their position as a freshman, and they played a lot last year, helped leading this defense, and they're going to be the two main guys at the position this year. Jeremiah Telander, a junior, 43 total tackles last year, a half of a sack, 6'2", 238 from Gainesville, Georgia. Saw a little bit of run as a freshman, like I said. I think he had like 35 total tackles, so just, 8 less? Maybe it was 32 total tackles, something like that, as a freshman. So saw a little bit of run as a freshman. Was a 3-star coming out of high school. Wasn't a huge name. I remember when he committed. Not that matters, but Jeremiah Telander was a very key piece to Tennessee's defense last year. Just a kind of a do-it-all guy in my mind, a guy that most defenses need. He's going to get in there, and he's a clear leader on the football field. He speaks very highly of his teammates. I don't know. I'm not meaning to transition it like this, but he talked very highly in the spring of Edwin Spilman, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But just a very good leader, which is what you need in a linebacker. Like I said, kind of the quarterback of the defense. But a solid athlete, a sure tackler. His feet, you can tell as he's getting older. I guess been in the program longer. Like he's noticeably gotten better, in my opinion, with range, sideline to sideline as a linebacker, plugging holes in the run game. Like I definitely, from freshman year to sophomore year, saw night and day improvement out of Jeremiah Telander, and I think he's going to make another big step this year and help lead this Vols defense once again. And that kind of, obviously the linebackers aren't really part of the secondary, man, but that back half of this defense next year is going to be one of the best groups in America. Obviously, that defensive line is going to be deep again, and I think that the defensive line is going to be very good. Last year, the defensive line was by far the best part of the defense, in my opinion. But this year, I think that back half, you've got, on one side, you've got Jermon McCoy. Is he going to play the first game? We don't know if he even plays the second game because that's against ETSU. But once he's back healthy, obviously Jermon McCoy, in my opinion, is the best corner in college football. So he's on one side, Ricky Gibson is on the other, and then you've got depth at that position, which you haven't really seen in a while with Jalen McMurray, Colton Hood, the transfer, a great athlete, and then obviously Boo Carter is just awesome. I just said that. Andre Turrentine, a returning starter with a lot of experience. Caleb Beasley's going to get some run back there. We've heard great things about Idris Farouk. So just that back half of that defense, and it's going to be led by Jeremiah Telander and Arion Carter, man. It's one of the better groups in the country and in the SEC, in my opinion. Obviously, the SEC kind of makes up the country just with it being the best conference. But, I mean, you sit there and talk about the names and stack up the names like they really sound like one of the best groups in football. And we couldn't say that going into last year's offseason or going into last year's season after the offseason. If you guys remember, like, the secondary did so well to start the year, but it was always like, when are they going to get a real test? Like in the first game, obviously we killed. Who did we even play on the first game? Was it UTC? Not 100% sure. And then we played NC State, and then it was Kent State. And this defensive back group is doing awesome. They haven't even allowed a touchdown, an offensive touchdown, I think, at that point. So the defensive back and that back half of the defense started off so strong, but everyone was saying, when are they going to get their real test? They're coming back. A lot of guys returning, so they're a very proven group. And like I said, a year under a system, a year under Josh Heupel, and I guess Josh Heupel's the head coach, but Tim Banks and Ronnie Gardner for the defensive line, William Inge, Willie Martinez, like a year under these guys and under this system, like it's only going to go up from here. You got to hope guys get back from injury, obviously, like Jermon McCoy, who is the best player on the defense, in my opinion. So getting him back is going to be huge, but that back half of this defense is looking like one of the best in the country, no doubt. And it's led by Jeremiah Telander, and it's led by Arion Carter. So backing up these guys, linebacker is one of those positions where 4 to 5 guys are going to play, especially by the end of the year. Like I said, injuries happen. We're hoping that everybody stays healthy, but it's just the reality of it. We saw Keenan Peely was out for the year in the third game last year? Something like that. Maybe not the third, but early in the year, Keenan Peely was out for the whole year. So injuries do happen, and linebacker is a position where you need depth. So Edwin Spilman is a redshirt freshman, an in-state guy, 6'1", 230. Played his high school ball at Lipscomb Academy. Had a brother who just transferred out, was a receiver. So Edwin Spilman was a guy, an early enrollee, came early on in the year and had a year under his belt, or not a year under his belt, but a spring under his belt, and we just heard great things about this guy, like a linebacker who's going to play as a true freshman once again. Battled injuries, didn't play the first 2 games of the year, and then had that lingering wrist injury where he just could not get on the field. Just a bad situation. And like I said, Jeremiah Telander in the spring was really talking this guy up, saying that he was his main guy. Thought that he was good enough to play last year, just, in an unfortunate series of events there, kind of with his injury history, but played a little bit at the end of the year, played a good bit in that Ohio State playoff game, but a guy who is a very good athlete for the position. And again, I've talked about it a little bit with Jermon McCoy's situation. Like, obviously, sitting out a year nearly for an injury is never good, but you kind of learn yourself more, and you learn more things about the game when you're having to sit back and watch it. So Edwin Spilman in the spring said, quote, "Me personally, I feel like my whole understanding of the game defensively has gotten a whole lot better compared to what it was this time last year, just because I've been here for a year now. And I know the calls, the checks, the signals, and all of that. I'm ready to just go down and play." So again, that was a quote from the spring. Just a guy who's, obviously in high school, all these guys in high school are just far and away better athletes than these guys, great football players, and they're just out athleting everybody. But Edwin Spilman, sitting out a year nearly, like other things start to trigger, you know what I mean? Like, his IQ of the game has probably gotten better sitting behind a guy like Jeremiah Telander and Arion Carter, who are experienced guys. And again, being in the system once again, like he said, just being here a year has already helped them. Edwin Spilman, I think, is going to be a huge piece of this defense, especially as a depth, but we're going to see starting snaps out of Edwin Spilman, in my opinion. Again, a guy that they thought would play last year, but just could never find himself healthy. But hopefully he finds himself healthy this year, and I think he's going to be a huge piece, and really an addition. Obviously a returning guy, but it's really an addition to this team since we could never get him healthy last year, and a 4-star recruit out of high school, so got all the tools in the world, and I'm excited to see what Edwin Spilman brings to this Vols defense this year. So that leads us to our last guy. Jordan Burns is another redshirt freshman. Didn't see a lot of run last year. A guy from Georgia, was a recruit out of Georgia, so was a freshman last year, true freshman, will be a redshirt freshman this year. Just going to have to see some more run out of him. Another guy who's 6'1", 220, so definitely looks the part. And, we can't say much because we haven't seen him really play. I think he only had like 1 tackle last year, and it was against a Kent State, someone like that. So we haven't seen a lot of Jordan Burns, but it's a guy that we're going to see another year in the system. How does he produce? Obviously, we don't need him to come out here and be Ray Lewis, but just a solid depth piece, and really hope that these guys can stay healthy. They're a little thin at depth in terms of depth at this position, but I think the guys, it's pretty top heavy. I think Arion Carter and Jeremiah Telander will be one of, if not the best, but they'll be a top 3 to 5 linebacker duo, and really a linebacking duo is the word, I guess. I feel like there's another word that I'm looking for. We'll call it a duo, linebacking duo in the SEC. So we'll see how this linebacking group goes throughout the year. It's all going to depend on how healthy they can stay. We're going to need guys like Edwin Spilman to stay healthy, even though they couldn't last year. But we had guys get hurt last year. We talked about it with Peely, who was one of the best defenders on last year's team, a captain, a huge piece of this team. They was an incredible leader, a lot older than everybody. They called him like uncle or grandpa or something last year. Just a veteran locker room presence, and like I said, that's very valued at the linebacker position. So my little grade on this position group is probably a B flat. I'll say B. I think we've had a B plus running back room, a B for the receivers. I think it was A minus running back room, B plus for the receivers. So I need to start writing down those grades. I'll go ahead and write that down here. A B for the linebackers. Just could be higher if they were a little deeper. Like I said, top heavy with a with starters like Jeremiah, Telander, and Arion Carter, this could easily be an A, but just a little thin at the depth side of things. But I think Edwin Spilman's going to take a huge leap this year. Just like I said, unfortunate the way it ended last year, or not ended, but kind of went the whole year for him. So I think Edwin Spilman's going to be a huge addition to this team. Another year in the system for Telander and Carter. It's just going to be huge. And William Inge is one of the better linebacker coaches in the SEC. And on the field, but I mean off the field, man, he is recruited so well. That's our little transition into just talking about that. In 2025, man, got Jaden Parlati, got Jaden Harmon, so is recruiting well at that position. But then this year, man, is what we're really going to talk about. This 2026 class that they're starting to piece together. Braden Rouse and TJ White. I know I talked about it a little bit on our last episode, but just awesome for William Inge. Getting 2 top 100 recruits, that is awesome. But 2 top 5 linebackers in the country. I think TJ White is 5th, and Braden Rouse is the 4th ranked linebacker in the country. I mean, that's just, it speaks volumes of the coach that William Inge is, the culture and the program that Tennessee has built over time. Again, Braden Rouse was a guy who was kind of up in the air. We didn't really know. Texas kind of seemed like the favorite in my opinion, but we got him. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because, a hair just fell. Because we talked about it a little bit on our last episode, but this linebacking corps is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better and better in my opinion. They're getting great guys out of, the portal. Obviously, Apili was out of the portal, but they're recruiting so well at the position lately, man, and I'm very excited to see where it goes in the future. But I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of From The Bench Vols. On Friday, like I said, it will be kind of a rundown, a review of all of the stuff that has happened with Tennessee at SEC Media Day. We may talk a little baseball on Friday, depending on how much there is to talk about with SEC Media Day, obviously with, Tennessee having the program record this year for first-round picks in the MLB draft, just a big year for them. So I know we don't talk too much on baseball here, which if you're kind of a returner of the show, a consistent watcher, we don't really talk about baseball a ton on here. Not near as knowledgeable, in my opinion, on a baseball as I am a basketball or football. But football, man, that's what a lot of people want to listen to. That's what I love talking about. So I love, kind of getting these off-season ideas, like a position group spotlight series. That stuff's kind of fun to me, getting a little creative with it. And I'm enjoying kind of doing some research and informing you guys on these new names and new faces, because there's been just so much stuff going on in this offseason with the Nikos of the world and everything like that, man. I just feel like there's not a ton that's been implemented on, and we'll see it more as we get closer to the year, and especially after SEC Media Day. Like, there's a lot of new faces that are going to be playing for Tennessee this year, and everyone knows that it's new faces, but no one knows who those new faces are. So I'm trying to get you guys informed on those, get you guys up to speed with all of that. But let me know in the comments if there's anything that you want to see. If you want to see more baseball, let me know what you guys think about that. I'm open to whatever you guys want to see. You guys are who I'm making this show for, so whatever the audience prefers, I would love to get your guys' input and keep doing stuff like that. But again, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I will see you guys on Friday. Thank you guys for tuning in, and go Vols.